Hey, welcome to the lecture series on ethical hacking. So, in this video, we'll be mainly talking about the sniffers and more of the sniffing mechanism, how the sniffers will be behaving, and what is the different type of mechanisms or else techniques that will be used by them. Okay, different type of sniffing techniques. Okay, all the things we'll be discussing here. So before going for the individually what the sniffing, how it has will be implemented, first of all, let me discuss about the how the sniffers will be behaving. Okay, sniffers, it is a simple $2 application or else a software, any sort of things, which will be capturing and moreover analyzing the total network traffic. Okay, at the network level, the sniffing will be happened. Okay, it will be capturing the total data transmission. Okay, and traffic analysis will be carried out, and not only analyzing, it will be monitoring and analyzing. Both the things will be carried out. Okay, so what they will be doing is nothing but, as I said right now, they will be mainly going with the passive and moreover the active sniffing techniques. So the thing is nothing but the sniffers, they will be mainly capturing and analyzing the network traffic to analyze the behavioral patterns, to analyze how the network is behaving, everything. Okay, so in the case of passive sniffing, okay, as the name implies, passive, it will not be updating any sort of data, just they will be listening to the network traffic that has been communicated, that has been transmitted. We don't have any sort of problem with these things. But in the case of active sniffing, okay, it will be interacting with the network and more by capturing the data, by resending the data, by modifying the data. He can do any sort of things. So we should be very much cautious about the active sniffing. Okay, in the total sniffing techniques, we'll be mainly talking about the passive, active sniffing, next ARP, that is nothing but the address resolution protocol, and ARP poisoning, how these attackers, they will be updating the ARP tables to reroute the genuine legitimate packet data to the unauthorized users. Okay, what are the different type of tools of the sniffing? Okay, and what are the different type of basic countermeasures, how we are going to avoid these things will be discussed in the entire things. Okay, they will be mainly checking or troubleshooting the total network, and the performance of the network will be analyzed. Is any breaches, if is any chance of having the security issues, it will be monitored. Okay, if any uneven situations has been there, if any suspicious activities has been detected in my network, they can be easily analyzed. To make the things possible, we are using different type of tools like Varshak, what we have discussed. Okay, TCP dump, ettercap, snot. Snot is also providing different type of services, especially for the intrusion detection mechanisms. Network miners will be there. Other different type of packet analyzers has been available in the network in the real-time applications. The main problem with this sniffing is nothing but once they are capturing the data that has been transmitted through the network and making the analysis, so we don't have the required security or also privacy for the data that I am communicating. Okay, clear privacy violation has been happening here. Not only these things, they may steal the data in the case of active sniffing, and moreover they may hijack the required session also. For example, session hijacking, we both, suppose sender and receiver, are making the required communication with each other. At a certain instant of, in the case of session hijacking, before making the required data transmission, first of all, session has to be established. Session is nothing but the time duration, which we are very much familiar. At that particular time period itself, both the sender and moreover receiver is having enough privilege to make the required communication via some sort of route, via using some sort of protocols, via using some sort of ports. So, in the case of session hijacking, what the intruder will be doing, he will be hijacking the total session, and the intruder will be pretending as if he is a genuine sender for the receiver, and he will be behaving as if he is a genuine receiver for the sender. And what the communication has been done between the source and moreover destination will be attacked by the intruder. He can steal the data, he can misuse the data, he can update the data, he can do any sort of operations. Okay, it may lead to the illegal and moreover unethical uses of the network. So we have to be in a capable position to take a proper countermeasures. So these particular countermeasures are nothing but the best thing is nothing but to use the best encryption techniques. We have to always go with the security implementations like SSL and more TLS, that is secure socket layer and more transport level security has to be implemented at every individual level and every individual layer to have a proper security. We have to always go with the HTTPS to secure protocols or else SSH. We have to go with the instead of going with the FTP, normal FTP, file transfer protocol, always go with the FTP, secure file transfer protocols. Always go with the enabling the disabling the open ports whenever it is not in need of. Always go with the uses of the wireless LANs. Okay, always go with the uses of the virtual private networks, so that we can make a proper communication without any sort of loss of data. So first of all, going with the sniffers, as I said, in the case of passive sniffers, they will be monitoring the traffic. In the case of active sniffer, they may interact with the network or also users also. In the case of EARP, address resolution protocol, whenever we do have the IP address and we don't have the MAC address, then we will be relying on the address resolution protocol. But in the case of reverse address resolution protocol, which works similar but in the reverse direction, that if I'm having the MAC address, if I don't have the IP address, then I will be going with the RARP protocol, reverse address resolution protocol. In the case of ARP poisoning and more of flooding, what will be happening is nothing but the attacker will be updating the router table that has been maintained at the ARP. And it may, it will be a situation for the flooding also. Flooding is nothing but the routers will be flooded with a different type of packets. Unknowingly, these same packets will be simply released into the network, which may lead to the congestion, which may lead to high traffic jams. So we have to go with a different type of security mechanisms of using different type of sniffer tools should be maintained, and we have to have a proper countermeasures also. First of all, going with in detail about the passive sniffing. Excuse me. In the case of passive sniffing, as I said, as a passive, okay, they will be monitoring the network traffic, captures, analyze, but it will not be interacting, it will not be making any sort of modifications. Only monitoring will be there. Okay, it is very hard to detect once we are going with the passive sniffing. Why? Because if there is any modification somehow at later, we can detect, okay, this is the data that has been communicated, but this is the data that has been received as the receiver. Okay, something is fishy here, some data has been updated. Okay, something is happening, we can detect. But in the case of passive sniffing, it is very hard to detect. Why? Because intruder will not be revealing his own identity. It is very hard to detect. But in the case of in the case of active sniffing, here the interaction will be carried out here. Now, if there is a chance of having the modification of the data also. Okay, here it will be of highly risk because of these active sniffing. Okay, they are mainly used in the case of switcher networks. Once we are going with the switcher LANs by using the different type of packet switching networks. Okay, instead of going with the normal connection oriented services, if I am going with the packet switching networks, okay, there will be a chance of having the active sniffing as the packets has been transferred via multiple networks or also via multiple connections. Okay, we can't trust every connection is secured. There is a chance of having the attack here. Okay, so there is a chance of having the manipulating the required traffic also in the case of active sniffings. Next, going with the ARP, that is nothing but address resolution protocol, where I don't have the MAC address. Okay, medium access control address. Okay, so it will be helping us to map the IP address with the MAC address. MAC address is a system address. It is very hard to identify, hard to remember also. So, in normal users like us will be mainly remembering the domain name address or also IP addresses. So, IP address will be enabling us to detect what maybe the network is of, but in that network, what is a unique system to which I have to make the required communication has to be done only through the MAC. There I will be going with that resolution protocol. It will be simply mapping, it will be simply addressing both IP addresses and one of the MAC addresses. It is mainly used in the local networks itself. Why? Because by using the MAC address, we can't go outside the network to make the required communication. It will be mainly relying on the RRP, that is nothing but the request reply process. Okay, we'll be sending some sort of request, we'll be getting the required reply. Okay, echo request, echo reply, or else connection request, connection reply. This type of request replies, as per that thing, etc., the communication will be established. And to properly have a proper communication between the MAC and more of the IP addresses, a clear routing table will be maintained, ARP table will be maintained, what is a concerned IP address and what is a concerned MAC address. Okay, in some sort of situations where the attacker will be poisoning the ARP table or updating or manipulating the ARP table. So when the ARP table has been updated by the attacker, okay, as I don't have the MAC address, I will be going with the IP address and thereby the ARP table, and I will be thinking it is a genuine MAC address and I am communicating with the legitimate user. But the attacker will be updating the routing table or else updating the ARP table, making it as a poison, and the data will be revealed to the unauthorized persons. As per the routing table, as per the table that has information. So what I will be thinking this is a MAC this is IP address and this is a concerned MAC address. And the MAC address is very much genuine. But here after the poisoning of the ARP, as the table has been updated, okay, unknowingly I will be transferring the data mapping to the concerned MAC address and I will be making the required data transmission. But at that network terminal, or also in that local network hardware device terminal, also host or also node, then intruder may be there, which may be accessing the total data. There is a chance. Here there will be a chance of having the maximum chance of having the man in the middle attack. Unknowingly, okay, the data will be transferred to the receiver, but the modification may be done by the intruder. So let me go with the small example in detail about the ARP poisoning in condition to the things what I am saying. Okay, ARP table will be there. Okay, the concerned MAC address and more of the IP address. The sender will be checking the concerned MAC address and the data will be transferred to the receiver. Okay, this is how the things will be happening. When the modification has been there, the intruder, what it will be doing, he will be updating the routing table with its own MAC address, and for the data that has been simply transferred from the sender will be first of all received to the attacker. That's why we are calling it as a man in the middle attack, and he can make his own changes or else he can transfer the same data to the other legitimate receiver. Sender and receiver will be thinking that they are making communication through a trusted channel, but here the things has been updated. Here the things has been attacked by the intruder. So specific device has been forged by using these ARP replies. And there will be a chance of having the flooding also. That is nothing but pumping millions of packets into the network. Excessive ARP requests may be sent. Okay, to stop or also to pass to disrupt the proper regular normal operation of any server or else any sort of network device. So making it busy. So automatically it may malfunction at that thing. This is nothing but the flooding. Okay, and apart from these things, there is a chance of having the data loss or also data theft also. So the best tools that can be used to analyze a packet filter are nothing but these are the tools. Okay, packet capture tools has been available, Wireshark, protocol analyzer, okay, support filtering. The numerous number of tools has been available in the real world environment to analyze all this particular behavior of the packets. And even we do have the TCP dump, header cap, okay, command line, and moreover with the advanced capabilities which supporting the ARP poisoning and all these things. To make the required network analysis behavior, everything can be carried out by using the TCP dump and more header cap. So what are the different type of countermeasures that can be carried out? At everywhere, the best thing is nothing but to provide the required encryption. Encrypt the data that has to be transferred between the sender and receiver. Even though the intruder is viewing that data, he cannot understand, he cannot update the data by using this particular encryption techniques. Always go with the secured protocols to not to have any sort of intrusion attacks, and always properly monitor the network by implementing different type of IDS mechanisms, which will be working on the rule based and more statistical based applications. Always go with the proper detection of the ERP poison and attacks. Anything that has been there in my network, we should be in capable position to identify, we have to detect. Okay, so in the entire fourth unit, we'll be in the entire third unit, we'll be mainly talking about the Trojans, tools that has been used by the Trojans. What is a malware, spywares, and next we are going with the different type of covert communication. We have discussed about the key logging mechanisms, and we have used a different type of detection countermeasure mechanisms. If any attack has been detected, how we are going to have different type of countermeasure mechanisms, and finally, how the required sniffing will be carried out. What is a passive sniffing? Yeah, what is an active sniffing? How the ARP poisoning attack will be there? How the flooding attack will be there? How we are going to have different type of countermeasures and everything. Finally, one thing I want to clear: at everywhere, proper human education should be there. User should be aware of all the things, then only he can take different type of countermeasure mechanisms. Okay, thank you. That's all for the day.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.